let us get a divorce. When his wife dropped that bombshell, she was calmly cutting his steak. Aren't you always busy? She asked. Let me save you the trouble. He looked up at her. 5 years of marriage, and she always kept their lives perfectly organized. Never emotional. What is the reason? He asked, putting down his utensils. Calmly asking if she fell in love with someone else. She smiled slightly. It was a faint smile. Only with him do I feel alive, she said. He stayed quiet. Thinking he was processing it, her tone softened. Don't worry. I can leave with absolutely nothing, she promised. He simply nodded. He pulled his ID out, placing it down. No need to worry. Let's go do it now, avoiding any future hassle. Her smile instantly froze. The restaurant lights around them were dimmed low, leaving only a warm glow on the table. The red wine was perfectly aerated. Fine wine legs slowly dripped down the glass like tears. This is so heavy. It was actually their 5th wedding anniversary. He had booked this table a month ago, choosing a window seat with a perfect river view because she once mentioned that she loved quiet places. He remembered every single detail so clearly. Yu Jiawei sat right across from him, her makeup looking absolutely flawless. Her hair was perfectly styled, and she wore a beautiful beige dress. The tailored fit made her look incredibly composed. Talk about cold energy.
She did not look like she was celebrating, but closing a pre-planned deal.
The waiter brought the main course, but she did not touch her silverware. Instead, she gently placed her napkin down. Looking up, she said, Anke, let us get a divorce. Her voice was quiet, steady, with zero hesitation and no prior buildup. Stating it like an inevitable fact, at that exact moment, he felt his chest get violently wrenched by a heavy weight. His breath completely hitched as he stared intensely at her face, desperately searching for any trace of regret, but her eyes were completely clear. There was even a hint of wild relief, like she had finally blurted out what she kept bottled up for so long. I love someone else. She continued, saying she had made up her mind, then paused briefly, adding that even if she has to leave with nothing, she must be with him. The candle flickered on the table, its flame drawn thin by a sudden chill. He did not speak right away, his throat tightening up completely. His tongue felt numb. Honestly, this did not even feel like anger. More like his body was instinctively rejecting this reality. 7 years together. Married for 5, the Yu Jiawei he knew was never an impulsive person. She was always the type to meticulously weigh every choice before making a move. So he knew this was not on a whim. She had perfectly calculated this exact moment. How long has this been going on? He asked, fighting the sharp chest pain. His voice sounded much calmer than expected. She glanced at him. Seemingly surprised by his question, she replied it had been a while. How long is a while? He pressed on. She bit her lip, not answering immediately, and honestly, that silence alone was already his answer. She nods, choosing not to press him any further. Suddenly, she realizes she doesn't even want the messy details. They would only make her sick, especially the house and savings. So she just asks how he wants to split it. He frowns slightly, as if she is focusing on the wrong things. She stares him down, asking if he is sure about leaving with nothing. Absolutely, he snaps back instantly, claiming he does not want any more drama. Hearing him call their marriage drama is the exact moment her heart goes completely cold. Honestly, what an absolute villain of a husband for treating her like a chore. She stops speaking, reaching into her jacket pocket. Out comes her ID card, prepared way ahead of time. With a loud smack, she slams him right onto the table. The wine glass shakes, red wine nearly splashing over the edge. Yu Jiawei freezes, staring down at the papers in absolute shock. He is totally speechless when she coldly drops a single word. Go. He looks up, but she demands they go now before the registry office closes. Any later and they will miss it, and this time he is truly shook. He probably expected her to scream, throw questions, or cry, losing control and begging him to stay. But nope, she is built different and just fast forward straight to the endgame. He finally stammers out, asking if she needs more time to think. For the first time, his cool act breaks as she stands up and says no.
She asks if he has not already made up his mind, leaving him speechless.
Without another word, she immediately calls the waiter over to pay the bill. They did not touch a single bite of food before stepping out into the cold night. A damp, icy wind blows off the river, chilling them to the bone. He quietly follows behind as her high heels click sharply against the pavement. Each step echoes clearly in the silence before they get into the quiet car. She takes the wheel while he sits in the passenger seat, hands on his lap. Not a single word is exchanged until they stop at a red light. He steals a glance at her, his eyes filled with a strange, heavy look. It is like he is seeing a complete stranger, but she never looks back. The car accelerates and she keeps her eyes locked dead ahead on the road. Once a relationship is dead, there is absolutely no point looking back. The registry office is still lit up, with only a few couples waiting in line. They stand in line together, keeping a precise, awkward gap between them. He suddenly whispers, asking if she is really not going to beg him to stay. She just stares ahead, refusing to turn. He made his choice, and she reminds him of that. When the clerk asks the routine questions, he answers smoothly without a hitch. His voice is perfectly steady, showing zero hesitation. Her turn to sign. Her fingers go stiff for a split second, but only for a second. She signs decisively, finally cutting the final thread of a broken marriage. And just like that, they are officially divorced. When Yu Jiawei takes it, he instinctively looks over at Chen. Chen silently packs his certificate away. Chen just turns and walks away. Walking down the steps, Chen can feel him standing frozen behind him. Yu Jiawei's heavy gaze burns into his back, but Chen refuses to look. Not once. That is when Yu Jiawei finally realizes Chen isn't playing games or acting. He's truly done. Under the harsh, sterile lights, every bit of exhaustion is exposed. The silence is low-key uncomfortable as Chen stands before the window. Ahead of them, a couple is quietly arguing, the wife teary-eyed while the husband looks down. Silence. Yu Jiawei is purposely keeping his distance, but it isn't out of unfamiliarity. He's just keeping his boundaries perfectly clear. As the line moves, Yu Jiawei suddenly leans in and whispers if Chen has really thought this through. Without looking, Chen fires back that he is the one who should be asked that. Yu Jiawei stays silent. But Chen doesn't feel the cold, his nerves stretch to the limit. It's like waiting for a bomb to drop and then boom, it is their turn. The clerk checks their paperwork. When asked if this is mutual, Yu Jiawei agrees instantly, while Chen hesitates. The clerk looks at Chen, asking for the husband to speak up. Yes, Chen says stiffly, making the clerk pause his pen. The process goes on. This time, Yu Jiawei cuts in first, making the clerk look up. Any disputes? None, Yu Jiawei says. Finally, Chen looks at him, his face looking crazy calm under the bright lights. Yu Jiawei looks almost relieved, like this divorce certificate is his literal ticket to freedom and a brand new life. Chen stays completely silent. When it is time to sign the papers, Yu Jiawei slowly hands over the pen. Their fingers brush. He pulls back instantly. Taking the pen, Chen signs his name. His hand is completely steady, while Yu Jiawei just stares blankly at the signature for a few seconds. Processing reality. The official stamp goes down with a soft sound that hits like thunder. The clerk hands over the booklets, and Yu Jiawei quietly takes his copy. His grip tightens. That is the third time he's looked Chen in the eyes tonight, first at the restaurant, then in the car. Now, panic sets in. Chen packs his certificate away. Chen zips his bag shut. All right, so Chen turns and walks out, his footsteps echoing. He stays frozen. Chen pushes open the glass doors. The cold night wind hits his face instantly, leaving the bright hall behind forever. Out on the empty streets, Chen is finally free. Anki stands right below the steps, lighting a cigarette and taking a single drag. Footsteps echo behind her as her toxic ex finally follows her out. He calls out on Kay, but she keeps moving. His voice gets tight, asking if she is really just leaving. The paperwork is done. Back to him. Her flat reply ignores their 5 years of marriage. He finally forces the words out, like they've been building up. She turns around with a cold "so what," leaving him stunned. He clearly did not expect her to snap back, asking if she has nothing to say. As he presses, she coldly says he already finished talking. Her detached response makes his frown slowly deepen. Realizing he lost control, he asks if she thinks she is being too cold. She stares him down. Did he expect her to throw a tantrum and beg? He stays silent. She reminds him he chose someone else. Her calling out his hypocrisy makes his face turn pale. She is literally built different. He stammers that he did not expect her to be so fast. Anke scoffs. Did he ask her about pacing when he planned his betrayal? That line shuts him up. Honestly, the author really cooked here. The wind blows past his coat as he stands frozen on the steps. Looking totally shaken, he mutters that she will regret this. He speaks quietly, his voice completely lacking any real confidence. No response. She completely ignores his weak threat. Regret is only for the hesitant, and she is way past that. As she turns to leave, he lunges forward to grab her sleeve. Desperately gripping her sleeve, he asks if she really does not care who the other person is. She looks at his hand. No need, she says. Pulling her sleeve away, she reminds Yu Jiawei that their divorce is already official. She looks at him. His life is none of her business now. His hand hangs in midair as reality finally sinks in. His expression cracks with panic, demanding to know how she can be this decisive. In a tense voice, he asks if this cooperative attitude is not what she always wanted. She throws the question back at him, leaving him completely speechless. She walks away for good, and this time, he stays put. Reaching the street corner, she looks back at the dim lights of the Civil Affairs Bureau. He is still standing under the lamppost, looking incredibly lonely. It seems he finally realized this divorce did not end the way he planned. She turns away, hails a taxi, and slides into the back seat. As the door shuts, his world vanishes, and the streetlights start blurring past them. The driver catches her eye in the mirror, but says nothing as she closes her eyes. Her mind is perfectly clear, no impulse at all. When he chose someone else, she simply let him go. Now they both have to face the consequences as the taxi pulls up to her apartment. She pays the driver and heads inside, hallway sensor lights waking up as she climbs. The lights flicker out behind her, and she suddenly pauses with her key in the lock. This place is no longer their home, opening the door to absolute silence. The house is dead silent, and his shoes are completely gone from the entryway. The living room is missing his favorite pillow, but his cologne still faintly lingers. It is barely there anymore. She hangs up her coat and heads into the bedroom. The bed is made perfectly. Looks like he prepared for this quiet exit way in advance. She stands at the door just staring, feeling no immediate anger or hysterical breakdown. Only cold clarity. The dude seriously thinks getting the divorce papers wraps everything up. But for our girl, this is literally just step one. She turns off the lights and sits. The city lights outside are buzzing, and she knows the real game is starting. Some heavy debts are finally starting to surface. The door's click echoes hollowly. Silence swallows the room again. She stands in the foyer, not even changing her shoes. The floor is spotless. No trace left behind, not even a stray hair. He left with zero rush. This was not some frantic last-minute packing. This was a highly calculated move. She drops her keys and steps into the living room. A cushion is missing from the couch. Yep, the one he always held. Only her mug is left on the table. His is gone, and the TV sits dead. Curtains are half drawn. Honestly, the place is not messy at all. In fact, it is way too neat. That level of order is actually chilling. She walks into the study. Her books on the shelves are completely untouched. But his entire row is completely empty. He did not even mess up her organizing system. She slides open a desk drawer. One folder is missing. It was that blue binder he put together right after they got married. He claimed it was just some work files back then, so she ignored it. Now she realizes he always knew exactly what was worth stealing away. In the bedroom, his side of the closet is half bare, just empty hangers. His clothes are gone. She reaches out and touches the cold wood. She notices the bottom drawer of the nightstand is left slightly ajar. She pulls it open. There are receipts and a luxury jewelry box she has never seen. Definitely not hers. Inside is a necklace, simple but clearly expensive. She picks it up and checks the tag. The purchase date was 6 months ago. right when he claimed he was pulling crazy overtime for some major project. She drops the necklace back and digs deeper, finding fancy restaurant receipts. All weekday nights, but none of the places are anywhere near his office. One receipt is slipped inside a notebook. She pulls it out, reads the total, and freezes. This is absolutely not a place he would ever normally go. He knew their budget boundaries, unless someone else was funding his new life. She shuts the drawer and sits on the bed. The house is deadly quiet.
She can hear the wind outside, yet there is still no rage.
It is more like fitting puzzle pieces together. In the living room cabinet, his documents are gone, but he left one single USB drive behind. Wait, scratch that. She quickly corrects herself as she looks closer. It is his old portable hard drive case, the one for backups. Except now it is completely empty. He took the actual drive out. He just left the plastic shell. It finally clicks for our girl. This was not a sudden affair. He has been planning this betrayal, slowly erasing his existence from this home. Suddenly, her phone buzzes. Nah, it is not him. It's just a bank notification. She clicks it open. The amount is tiny, but the merchant name is unfamiliar.
She scrolls up and realizes this is not a one-time thing.
The timeline is crazy. The oldest charge goes back a whole year. She stares at the screen for a second before setting the phone down. Turns out some red flags were always there. She just chose to ignore them. His spices are still in the kitchen, but his go-to seasonings are gone.
She remembers him saying he wanted to learn new recipes, but he never did.
One shelf in the fridge is completely empty, leaving only her beer and food. Standing in front of the fridge, a random memory suddenly hits her. On his birthday last year, she had to take a last-minute business trip. He said he just grabbed dinner with coworkers, but he came home super late. He had this faint scent of men's cologne on him. He claimed it was just the restaurant smell, and she actually believed him. Looking back, that excuse was low-key pathetic, but she was just too blind. The betrayal is getting real now. She walks to the study. She starts sorting through the paperwork, contracts, invoices, bank statements. There are so many tiny details she never bothered to double-check before. Not because they did not matter, but because she trusted him completely. She never thought he would play dirty, but reality hits hard. Blind trust is literally the biggest loophole. Then she finds an insurance folder. The beneficiary date was modified right around the month he claimed he got transferred. She stands there holding the paper, not screaming or breaking things. She just realized one chilling fact. He is not just leaving. This man is paving his future by trampling all over their marriage. Her phone buzzes again. It is him this time, lighting up the screen. His name flashes on the display. She just stares at it. She does not pick up. It cuts off, but he immediately calls back. Still no movement from her. Then he sends a short text. He says he's coming tomorrow to grab some things. She replies, sure. Just one word. No drama, and he does not text back. She sets the phone down and reaches deep into the bottom drawer. She pulls out an old ledger from their very first year of marriage. Back then, they used to write down literally every single expense. But he called it a hassle, so they stopped. She flips it open. Just normal numbers. Rent, water, electricity, groceries, occasional trips. Nothing suspicious. But that makes it worse. It makes the current betrayal hit so much harder. People do not change overnight. They just drift away when you're not looking. Night falls. She divides his leftover things into two piles, what to return and what to trash. The division is clean, zero hesitation. When he returns for his stuff, there will be nothing more, nothing less. This is the final shred of dignity she is giving him. She walks to the window. Streetlights glow below as a lone car passes. The city goes on. But she is standing there, finally seeing everything clearly. He thought the divorce was the end of it. But for our girl, it is literally just the starting point of exposing the truth. She shuts the window. Walking back to her desk, she snaps the ledger shut. She knows damn well this is not over yet. First thing next morning, she packs up all his remaining junk. Just two simple boxes left waiting in the living room corner. Plus one storage bag, no more, no less. She does not even text him because when he shows up, literally does not matter. 10 a.m. hits and she heads out, not to dodge him though. She actually has stuff to do, and a new cafe just opened near her office. It was under renovation for ages, so she never really noticed it before. But passing by that day, she spots a sleek black car parked right outside. The plate looks incredibly familiar, and no, not just the numbers. She has spotted this exact ride at several high-end business dinners before. Heavy tint makes it impossible to see inside, so she just heads right in. She grabs a quick black coffee, takes a window seat, and, wait for it, the door swings open and a guy walks in. Mid-30s, lean, rocking a sharp, perfectly tailored suit. No loud accessories, and his hair is styled to absolute perfection. Looking deadpan, he scans the room from the entrance, low-key checking the vibe. Then he takes a step inside, and boom, she knows exactly who he is. Li Chengshang, that is the name she pieced together from those sketchy, hidden clues. Pure logic at work here, not just some random gut feeling. Tracking his insane spending habits, his high-end hangouts, his whole lifestyle. And even how his tone shifted, everything pointed directly to elite players like him. When he orders, his quiet voice instantly makes the staff scramble to be perfect.
He sits right diagonally across from her, with only 2 empty tables between them.
She is not staring, but the guy literally radiates heavy final boss energy. It is not flashy, just that quiet confidence of someone used to running the show. Suddenly, her phone buzzes, a text from her ex-husband Yu Jiawei. He says he is coming by at noon for his stuff, and she just replies with okay. Flipping her phone face down, she watches Li Chengshang take a slow sip of coffee. Moving with zero rush, he looks down at his phone. A tiny frown appears on his face, then vanishes, like he is handling some minor inconvenience. She spots no wedding ring on his finger, but his wrist has a killer watch on it. It is low-key, but anyone who actually knows watches would know it costs a fortune. Nothing about him is loud, which honestly makes him way more dangerous. It is the perfect way to make people drop their guard. Suddenly, he looks up. His gaze sweeps across the room, and for a split second, their eyes lock. He does not flinch or look away, but he does not stare either. He just moves his eyes naturally, but in that moment, she knows. He definitely knows who she is, or at least knows she exists.
He just does not see her as a threat yet, which is classic final boss behavior.
Finishing her drink, she gets up to leave, but right at the exit, the waiter calls her back saying she dropped something. Anki turns to grab a pen. The moment he turns back, he catches Li Chengxiang staring right at him. Not sizing him up, scanning him. Like he already made his judgment. Anki just nods politely. Chen Shang nods back. No words spoken, but that was an absolute clash of auras. Anki walks out without looking back. He heads home early at noon, finding Yu Jiawei already waiting. Jiawei is wearing casual clothes. Seeing him, Jiawei speaks first, admitting he did not expect this. Anki calmly replies, saves time. Without another word, Jiawei steps inside and reflexively scans the room. The apartment is completely empty. Anki slides the boxes over, telling him everything is there. He checks inside, mutters thanks, but Anki stays dead silent.
After hesitating, he asks how Anki is.
Anki gives a dry reply. Everything is perfectly normal. Jiawei forces a weak laugh, whispering that Anki probably met him. Anki asks who. The guy flinches instantly, waving his hands to dismiss it. But Anki does not push. If his ex lacks guts, so be it. No interest in playing games. Jiawei finally leaves. But right at the doorway, the guy stops. He calls out Anki, gets a cold hum, and turns around. It is one final test, asking if Anki really does not care. Anki just stares. What difference would knowing make? That line absolutely shuts him down. The door shuts quietly. Just like that, their lives are split. Later, Anki goes to work. Back to the daily grind. But get this, he is spotting tiny details way faster now. Nothing gets past him anymore. That evening, he spots that mysterious black car in the parking lot again. This time, the window is halfway down. He is on the phone looking furious. Anki cannot hear the words, but the guy is definitely holding back rage. The call ends, and they lock eyes. Instead of looking away, he smirks. It is pure final boss energy. Ann K takes the bait and walks over.
Stopping by the car window, he greets him as Director Lee.
The man is shocked. You know me?
Anke admits he has heard of him. Cheng Shang stares him down.
Immediately, he recognizes him as Mr. On.
See, this proves the guy has already done his homework on him.
He asks if there's a problem, but Anke just shakes his head. She was just confirming one thing, making him raise an eyebrow and ask what. Looking him dead in the eye, she says she already let go, leaving the rest for him to handle. The guy is completely speechless, not even out of anger. He just never expected her to act this cold, taking a few seconds to finally find his voice. He tells her she is surprisingly calm, so she assures him he has nothing to worry about. She promises she won't drag things out, making him breathe a sigh of relief. But something still feels off to him, and he can only sputter out that it is good then. She simply nods and walks away.
After a few steps, she hears him immediately making another call from inside his car. His voice sounds way more urgent now, but she does not even look back.
Honestly, some guys look so classy until they are actually forced to take some responsibility. That is when their true colors show. Anyway, that night she gets back home. The house is dead silent as she sits alone in her study. She replays everything that went down during the day, not out of emotion, but pure logic. She is calculating, realizing this man is smart, but definitely not as clean as he thinks he is. As she turns off the desk lamp, she is fully aware that their real game is only just beginning. Giving herself absolutely zero downtime, she heads straight to the office the very next morning. Meetings, schedules, and project updates, she does not miss a single beat. Especially in times like this, she knows she cannot let her rhythm get messed up. She knows a real payback is never built on impulse. It is about systematically laying out every weapon she has. And patience and execution are her specialties. After her morning meetings finish, she gets right to work. Back in her office with the door shut, her desk looks completely spotless. But her computer screen tells a completely different story, holding 5 years of detailed partnership records. She goes through every transaction, account balance, and project split line by line. This is not just to find loopholes, she is trying to re-examine her own past years. Every relationship she built and every deal she was ever a part of. See, looking at things as a married couple makes you completely blind to certain boundaries. But now that illusion is gone, she is strictly looking at the hard facts.
At lunch, she meets up with the head of finance, but not for a private meeting.
It is just a casual business lunch, naturally steering the conversation from project progress to cost control. Smooth as ever. Then, the finance head casually mentions one of their partners. His voice holds a bit of hesitation as he brings up this month's books. Some payments went through way too fast, so she immediately asks what the rush was. He explains that the standard procedures were rushed, like someone was desperately running out of time. She simply nods without digging any further. Once lunch is over, she is straight back. Returning to her desk, she flags that specific partner in her system. The name is very familiar. It is one of the projects Li Chengshang is actively involved in. It is not a major deal, but it sits right at a critical bottleneck. That afternoon, she pays a visit to another company under the guise of a routine check-in. The manager there is incredibly polite, and they chat smoothly for about half an hour. Everything discussed is strictly professional, but right before she leaves, he drops a hint.
He mentions they seem to be restructuring a lot lately, which only makes her smile.
She cryptically replies that whatever needs to change will eventually change, keeping him quiet. But his look completely changes. You see, the moment the wind shifts even a little bit, smart players will always feel it, even if she stays clean of any actual gray areas. He is not trying to burn bridges yet, just planning. Gradually clawing back the control that always belonged to him. Returning home to a completely silent, empty living room, he flips on the lights and sits at the table, reviewing all the files he organized earlier that day.
The logic is absolutely airtight.
Every step holds up. Suddenly, his phone starts buzzing. He ignores it. It stops, then starts buzzing again. On the third try, he finally glances at the screen. It is Yu Jiawei, and just flips the phone face down. A text pops up, asking if they can talk. Still no reply. 10 silent minutes pass by. Another call comes in, but Anne still ignores it. It is not petty, it is just pointless now. Yu Jiawei wants to discuss the changes, not feelings, but An is not giving him an out. Next morning, the project team submits a revised proposal. Anne rejects it immediately because the risks are totally unbalanced. The project manager is stunned, asking if things changed. Anne shuts him down. That was then, this is now. The manager backs off. That night, an email arrives.
It comes from a manager under Li Chengshang, and the email is written very politely.
They want to adjust the partnership, but Anne ignores it.
The next morning, he tells his assistant to pack his schedule. Every single time slot is fully booked with 0 gaps. On the third day, they call again, this time calling the office landline directly. He picks up, and the caller immediately sounds incredibly cautious as they ask if they did something wrong. He plays it cold, claiming they just need to reevaluate. When they tentatively bring up Li Chengsheng, An cuts them off and tells them to follow the process. Tell him to follow the standard procedure. A long pause on the line before they finally agree. Anne hangs up without wasting another single word. Some people are used to throwing their weight around, but they panic when their status stops working. That afternoon, An spots the familiar black car again.
The car has been sitting there for hours, and Li Chengsheng is leaning against the door smoking. He puts out the cigarette and calls out to An. He gets straight to the point, asking if the recent project adjustments were all Anne's doing. Anne simply replies that it is just standard procedure. Li Chengsheng glares, asking if this is too sudden. Anne does not back down. The contract clearly states either side can request a review. Li Chengsheng laughs, saying that An has changed. Anne calmly replies that everyone changes, and Li Chengsheng just glares at him. Suddenly switching subjects, he mentions that Yu Jiawei has been in a terrible mood lately.
Trying to ease the tension, he tells Anne to stop being defensive since the matter is already over.
Anne looks him dead in the eyes. The process decides when it is over, not you. With a grim face, Lai finally asks the burning question, what do you want? Anne gives him the exact same answer. He only wants what is rightfully his. Not a single thing more or less. Li shuts up because any more words are useless. Anne turns and walks away without looking back. He can literally feel Lai's intense glare burning into his back the entire time. At home, Anne barely steps inside when his phone rings. It is Yu Jiawei calling 3 times straight, and just watches the screen light up and fade in silence. Anne deletes the voicemail instantly, without listening. There is absolutely no need to hear him out, since his words right now are just a desperate attempt to confirm that things are completely out of his control. He boots up his computer, watching the screen glow. Focus is razor sharp. No noise needed for this payback. Just quiet progress as the night deepens. Anne knows the guy has sensed it, but he doesn't realize this is only the beginning.
Change never happens overnight. It starts with the smallest details.
Monitoring meetings get canceled. Milestones stall.
They are ordered to redo the entire process under very legit excuses. Every document is spotless and crystal clear.
Nobody can find a single flaw, yet everything points to one outcome: stalling.
Projects are delayed and funding gets held up.
Everyone is completely stuck, but Anne doesn't even bother to step in.
He signs what is needed, explains nothing.
Everything goes strictly by the book, and honestly, seeing the other side completely lose their cool is so satisfying. On the third afternoon, his assistant knocks to say someone downstairs wants to see him. Without even asking who it is, Anne calmly tells them to make him wait. An hour after the meeting finally wraps up, Anne walks downstairs to meet him. He spots Li Chengsheng waiting in the lobby wearing a semi-decent suit. But his tie is loose, and he freezes when he spots Anne.
He jumps up instantly, moving way faster than he ever did before.
Calling out frantically to Mr. An, while our guy just gives a calm nod. Anne asks if anything is wrong, and Li begs for a private talk. Anne checks his watch. You have 10 minutes. Li lets out a massive sigh of relief as they sit down.
Skipping all the small talk, Li warns that this situation is ruining both of them.
Anne calmly tells him it is just a standard procedure, but Li snaps back angrily. He glares, saying they both know this is a deliberate delay, but Anne remains unfazed.
Anne calmly replies that the contract allows it.
But that weak smile quickly fades, and Li asks once again what An wants. Staring right back, Amin repeats that he only wants what is rightfully his.
Lee snaps that he already got it, but An calmly points out that is just his opinion. That is entirely Lai's own misunderstanding. Lai goes silent, tapping his fingers on the desk.
He suddenly stops tapping, falling silent for a moment.
Then, Lee tries playing the sympathy card, mentioning Yu Jiawei's terrible mental state lately. They have known each other for years. Our guy, An, slowly looks up. Anne asks if he is seriously taking Yu's side, and Lee instantly backs down. He basically complains that there is no need to take things this far. She straight up asks which part went too far, and Yu Jiawei is left completely speechless. Everything she did was perfectly reasonable, so he immediately switches tactics. He tries to argue this affects him too, but her response is ice cold. She calmly tells him that she won't carry the blame for his messy choices. At this point, he finally realizes she isn't just bluffing. He changes his tone, preachy as hell, telling Anke to leave some mercy. She asks, "Did you leave me any?" His face drops. Our 10 minutes are up, so she stands to leave. He doesn't block her, but he's completely rattled. That afternoon, the payback begins. And let me tell you, this isn't just a rumor, it's absolute chaos. Partners start demanding extra documents, holding up every single process. Decisions he used to make instantly now require endless levels of approval. His efficiency takes a massive nosedive. Doorbell rings. She waits. Peeking through the peephole, she sees Yu Jiawei standing outside. His hair is a mess, completely unkempt. Not his usual polished self. She opens. He sighs in relief, asking if she is home while she blocks him. She asks what he wants. He enters. He looks around the living room, but nothing here feels like home. Her stuff is gone. She calmly points to the sofa, gesturing for him to sit down. He sits down stiffly, looking incredibly tense. He asks if she did something recently, and she just asks, like, what? He bites his lip, mentioning trouble with Yi Sheng and the Chengshang project. Silence. He looks up. His voice is low and pleading, saying the funding is frozen. He asks if she is behind it, but she won't answer directly. She just asks what he thinks. Silent. He tries to reason, saying it's over. She stares back and clarifies. The only thing that's over is our marriage. His voice drops to a whisper as he finally asks if this is all for revenge. She mockingly asks if he even deserves that, making his face turn paper white. She says he forced her hand, leaving him shaking his head in disbelief. Coldly, she replies that once upon a time, she actually trusted him to have some decency. That completely shuts him up, defeated. His shoulders slump, admitting Yi Sheng is under a massive amount of pressure. She calmly tells him that is their business. He gets frantic, arguing that Yi Sheng is going to completely break down. Our absolute queen just spits out 2 words, let him. Honestly, she is built different. He asks in total disbelief how she could say that, but she stares back. She asks how he could do what he did back then. Everything freezes. He stands there, eyes red. No tears here. It is not even about emotion. Just sheer powerlessness. He weakly asks what Anne wants, who calmly replies, he wants absolutely nothing. Anne is just playing by the rules, but the guy's voice is literally shaking. He warns that this will ruin him, but An coldly points out it is just his own bad judgment. It is not Anne's responsibility. Now the guy's hands are starting to shake. He practically begs Anne to let it slip just once, but Anne shuts him down, asking if he ever showed mercy. The guy hangs his head. This time, it is not out of stubbornness. He finally realizes he cannot convince Anne. Honestly, the tension in this room is absolute peak. Only the ticking clock breaks the silence. After a long pause, he finally stands up. He whispers that he understands, walking to the door with his hand resting on the knob. He hesitates to open it. His back looks so much more fragile than before. He calls out Anne's name one last time, but gets absolutely no response. He pauses for a few seconds before slowly turning around. His head drops. And no, this is not out of politeness. It is pure defeat. The door opens and softly clicks shut, but Anne does not chase after him. This moment came faster than expected, but get ready because this is far from over. The opponent is finally starting to realize something.
Things are not going back to his perfect little plan. A week later, total chaos officially begins. It is just before 9 a.m. on Monday, right when Anne arrives at the office. His assistant immediately drops a stack of papers on his desk, not a typical report. It is a feedback summary showing 3 major partners have paused everything at once. Their excuse is exactly the same: internal restructuring. The corporate speak is polite, but it all points to one clear reality. Wait, the author is cooking now? Li Chengsheng's entire business line is officially frozen solid. Anne skims through without reacting. His assistant quietly asks if the afternoon meeting is still on. Without even looking up, An says it is business as usual. The boardroom is completely packed. Li Chengsheng is a no-show. In his place sits a stranger. A brand new face who measures every single word with extreme caution. He keeps repeating that they need to reevaluate the current risks. Some original promises might be off the table, and they hope Anne understands. Anne just listens and asks one simple question: when do they get the written paperwork? The rep stammers, giving a pretty vague answer that it will be ready soon. Anne gives them a hard deadline of 3 days, no arguments allowed. He does not even raise his voice, and the meeting wraps up instantly. Once the room empties out, Anne is left sitting all by himself. Outside, the sky turns gloomy, like a massive storm is finally about to break. Around noon, a call from an unknown number comes in. It is Li Chengshang's lawyer. He is incredibly polite, but clearly fishing for info, addressing him directly as Mr. An. He wants to negotiate, but Anat immediately shuts it down, telling him to stick to protocol. The lawyer insists some issues cannot be resolved by standard protocols, but Anne does not budge. Then deal with it as an unresolved issue, Anne replies. The line goes dead silent. The lawyer mentions Lai is under massive pressure, but An coldly cuts him off. That is his problem. He hangs up. By 3 p.m., An gets a sudden summons to headquarters. It is not a scolding, just a routine update on the situation. Anne presents everything exactly as it happened, without leaving out a single detail. The boss hears this and just calmly tells them to follow the rules. Honestly, those few words are enough. By evening, Anke gets back to his car. Suddenly, his phone rings, and look who it is, Yu Jiawei. Anke does not even bother answering, but a desperate text pops up saying he is in trouble. No reply, so another message comes in, saying this is way worse than he thinks. Anke just pockets his phone and starts the engine. Some garbage is not worth hearing. 8 p.m., the doorbell rings. He stands behind the door, deliberately letting him wait. The knocking gets frantic, so he finally opens it. There stands Yu Jiawei, looking absolutely pale as a ghost. His eyes are swollen and red. The guy clearly has not slept in days. He stammers out Anke's name and practically barges inside. Anke shuts the door and gives one cold command: speak. Standing lost in the living room, he reveals his entire funding has collapsed. He starts rambling like crazy, saying all their business partners pulled out. Every single promise they made is gone, but Anke stays dead silent. Now people are demanding answers and digging up the shady money trails. Shaking, he says the boss cannot hold out anymore, but Anke coldly asks, so what? Gasping for air, he admits the boss sent him here. But for what? He literally begs Anke to stop this revenge, hoping for some mercy. He thinks they can still salvage this, but Anke just stares. Do you honestly think I can just stop now? The guy is speechless. He stammers that this will destroy the boss, but Anke calmly sets him straight. The man ruined himself. Hearing this, Yu Jiawei completely loses his mind. He screams it is all because of their past, but Anke reminds him who chose this path. Anke corrects him. The guy snaps his head up. His eyes are full of terror, crying that he never expected things to end up like this. Talk about a reality check. Anke tells him he only wanted the reward, not the price. He keeps shaking his head in denial, but Anke looks him dead in the eye. How else should it be? Did you ever think about me when you abandoned me? That question completely shuts him down. He can barely choke out a response, but Anke continues to tear down his remaining pride. You only cared about escaping back then, and now you want to run back because you failed?
Shaking, the guy cries that Anke never used to be this heartless. As he breaks down in tears, Anke simply delivers the cold, hard truth. You just underestimated who I really was. Hearing that, the man completely collapses. He covers his face, trying to muffle his desperate, uncontrollable sobbing. No movement, zero comfort. Some feelings are not his to heal. After a long silence, the guy stands up with swollen eyes, realizing the boss will not take the fall. He looks up in despair, realizing that his partner is already shifting all the blame onto him. Hollowly, he admits they are making him the scapegoat for the entire mess.
NK asks if he is only realizing this now, and the guy just laughs bitterly.
He mumbles that the boss was never like this, but Anke instantly shatters his illusion. You only knew him when things were going great. The guy slides down the wall. Drained of all energy, he still mutters that if only Anke would stop this. The villain says he can make it up to him, but our main character just asks, with what exactly? Money or whatever else, the guy offers. Our lead just chuckles. Honestly, it is not even sarcasm. Our boy is just completely done with him. He flat out refuses to negotiate. The villain is totally stunned, asking if he is not afraid of a massive scandal. Our lead just stares him down, cold, dead silent. The damage is already done. Why start worrying now? Too late. The guy freezes as realization hits. He stammers that our lead never planned to show mercy, but the main character immediately corrects him. I just do not care what happens to you. Bro, that cold-hearted line absolutely destroyed the guy. He slowly nods, his eyes going completely blank as his world crumbles. He mutters that he finally gets it. This time, there is no screaming or begging. Total defeat. He quietly heads for the door. Stopping at the exit without turning back, his voice trembles as he asks if our lead hates him. Staring at his back, our main character gives the coldest, most indifferent reply. It does not matter anymore. The door clicks shut. But that quiet click locked away every last hope. No more phone calls came that night. By the next morning, the fallout was already spreading like wildfire through gossip. Li Chengxiang is officially under investigation, and multiple major projects are shut down instantly. The blame game starts shifting down, and Yu Jiawei is caught dead in the middle of it. He thought he found an escape, but he actually jumps straight into a deep abyss. Our lead just sits in his office, looking out the window as the chaos unfolds. He does not even need to lift a finger now. Payback is not about anger. It is about the final result. As everything wraps up, the silence is deafening. No drama, just an eerie, peaceful quiet. It is like a heavy storm that raged forever, suddenly stopping at dawn. Back at the office, the usual rhythm returns, and projects are quietly redistributed. Teams get shuffled, and a brand new face is pushed into the spotlight. Business moves on, and not a single soul mentions Li Chengxiang anymore. It is like his name was erased on purpose, completely fading into oblivion. That is corporate life, cold and brutal. You get replaced without any warning. Meanwhile, our lead just sticks to his regular routine. His calendar fills up and clears out, working late some days and leaving early on others. On the surface, life seems totally normal again, but he knows better. Everything is different now. One afternoon, he heads out. Our lead heads to headquarters for a meeting and leaves the building with an old colleague. Out of nowhere, the colleague casually mentions that his ex-wife is not doing so hot lately. The guy sounds so indifferent, like he is just talking about the weather. Our lead just gives a soft hum, letting the topic die right there. The colleague takes the hint, glances over, and drops the subject. That is how people work. When you show zero interest, they stop talking. Walking into the garage, our main character slips into the driver's seat. Before starting the engine, his phone lights up with a text from an unknown number. It is a simple message asking if he's free to meet up. He stares at the message. Silence. Leaves her unread. tosses the phone aside, and drives away. Now that is how you handle the drama. As her car rolls out of the garage, bright sunlight hits the windshield. Blindingly bright, she blocks the glare. She adjusts quickly. That night, she does not work any overtime. Simple dinner at home, eaten alone. No waiting around, and honestly, she does not have to cater to anyone's tastes. After dinner, she tidies up the balcony, where his left-behind plants have withered.
Time to toss them.
Cleaning the empty pots and stacking them away makes the corner look incredibly spacious. Days later, she attends a business event. And then boom, his name pops up again, not because he actually showed up. It is just people gossiping over drinks, but she learns he is in massive trouble now. The previous fallout ran so deep that Lee Changshang has zero chance of a comeback. She just sits nearby, quietly holding her drink. Not joining the talk, she watches as the crowd quickly changes the subject.
Because honestly, who has time for a loser at a high-end event like this?
The night ends pretty late, streetlights turning on one by one as she drives home. Suddenly, she realizes she barely even thinks about him anymore. It is not some forced avoidance. He just genuinely does not matter to her. Some people exit and never return. Come the weekend, she visits her old place, but nope, it is not for nostalgia.
Just finalizing some leftover paperwork.
The real estate agent hands her the keys, explaining the buyer is locked in. They want to close the deal quickly, and she simply agrees with a firm yes. Night falls as she walks out. She lived there for years, yet standing at the door now, she feels absolutely nothing. Driving back, that unknown number calls again. This time she answers, and Yu Jiawei's low voice mutters, "Anke." When he asks if she changed numbers, she calmly states the old one is gone. Yu Jiawei pauses. She asks if he needs something, and after a silent beat, he asks to meet. She refuses outright, saying this is their final talk. As he begs to explain things, she just keeps her eyes locked on the road ahead. In a flat voice, she tells him that everything is already perfectly clear. "How is she doing?" he asks cautiously. She gives a brief, dry response of fine, leaving the line dead silent for seconds. He confesses he is doing badly, and honestly, she does not give a single care. No coldness, just zero need to reply. He tries to make excuses, claiming things did not happen the way he wanted. She cuts him off completely. He should have thought of that before making his choices. His breath hitches as he stammers, what if he had not gone that far? No shot, she cuts him off again. There are no ifs, throwing him back into silence. After a long pause, Yu Jiawei finally speaks. He asks if she really won't turn back while she grips the steering wheel. She says flatly that the road is blocked, prompting him to let out a dry chuckle. The laugh is short and bitter. He finally whispers that he understands. True to his word, he does not beg anymore, promising never to bother her again. He promises to do it, and she just gives a simple nod. As the call ends, she doesn't even bother saving his number. The next day, she goes to work as usual, and during lunch, her coworkers notice she looks way better, but she just keeps quiet. Some victories are better left unsaid. Later, she gets the official property transfer. A notification putting the papers away safely in her desk drawer. That soft click of the drawer feels like a final chapter closing. Honestly, this silent closure is so satisfying. Time just keeps moving forward. Seasons change, and the city keeps moving at its usual fast pace. Sometimes she still thinks about that candlelit dinner, but with zero regret. She views it like an outsider now, completely detached. He thought he was ending things. He was completely clueless. But actually, she was letting go of her last expectations. And looking back, that clean break was the best payoff ever. No second guessing, just moving on. Absolute queen energy. She stands by the window, watching the night sky slowly darken. As the city lights flicker to life, she finally has absolute clarity. That dinner was his pathetic victory lap, but it was her true awakening. The glorious start of her living entirely for herself.